Myopia is a condition, a medical condition, where the eyeball is too long. It's growing faster than it should. At this point right now, as we talk, 30% of the kids in the US are myopic. And this is expected to increase to 50% by 2050. Myopic macular degeneration, glaucoma, retinal detachments, all these increase pretty exponentially as the amount of myopia increases.
Hello and welcome to Polish Your Life Integrative Medicine community. Today we're going to talk about myopia and ways to treat myopia. Especially, we may surprise you because there are things that you probably didn't know about when it comes to treating myopia in children. We are here with a special guest, and we are here with our co-host, Dr. Todd Johnson-Bach, who is our co-host. He's going to introduce our guest. And before he does it, I wanted to let people know, if you're watching for the first time, we are a doctors networking group. We are an integrative medicine community, integrative health community, and we promote collaboration and working together between providers because this is what people need, this is what patients need, and providers just don't have time. So we are making introductions, and today you're going to meet an amazing doctor who's going to tell us more about myopia. So Dr. Todd, tell us who is here on the screen, and let's introduce our special guest.
Mike, I'm really excited about our guest today. First of all, it's great to be back in the group, being one of the co-hosts. I've been away for a while, so it's great to be back. And hey, thanks again for creating the opportunity for this great forum. And as there people that met me before know, I'm a chiropractor, and we're talking with Dr. Scott Klasman today, and he's an optometrist. And a lot of people go, chiropractors and optometrists hanging out together? And I go, it should happen more than you realize. I would say, as a chiropractor, I treat a lot of people with neck pain. And one of the top 10 reasons people come in with neck pain is that they have visual disorders and their body is compensating in different ways to deal with the world visually. And once they have maybe they have a new change in eyewear, or maybe they need eyewear, or they're dealing with an astigmatism that's creating an abnormal relationship with gravity. So I get to see them on the neck end, but if they don't resolve their eye issue, that can lead to problems. This is where Dr. Scott Klasman comes in. He's an optometrist, and he's the owner of Federal Hill Eye Care in Baltimore. And we're going to talk to him today about, so people go, oh, well, Todd, they either do, like for children, they're going to do those glasses and that's it for life. And they're going to have to progressively get worse and worse. And once a child's on glasses for starting at 5, they're going to be wearing eyewear for the rest of their life. And then I met Dr. Klasman. How long ago was it that we met, Scott?
About a year and a half ago.
Yeah, about a year and a half ago. And he goes, Todd, that might not be the case. So I was like, oh, wow. And I was telling Mike about this. I was like, we got to get him on to talk about his unique take that's starting to catch on around the country. But he's one of the foremost in Maryland, as we know, right? Dr. Klasman, there's not a lot of people doing this work that we're going to be talking about soon, right?
Right, not at this time. It's very few.
Right. So this is the kind of thing we want to bring to this forum. So without further ado, Doctor, if you can talk to us today about childhood myopia, what myopia is, and then let's go right into your unique way of treating myopia.
Okay. Thank you guys for having me on today. This is fantastic. I'm excited to share this information with everybody. So when we think myopia, we think, okay, child's having trouble seeing the chalkboard at school, and they're nearsighted. That's how we normally think of myopia, is nearsighted. They can't see far away, but they can see close up. So what I want to do today, as we go through this, is I'm going to change that definition a little bit because things will make a lot more sense if we think of it this way. I want to separate myopia and nearsightedness. So myopia.
Real quick, Doc, real quick question. Would you say because of all the screen time and everything that this is a problem that is getting less prevalent or even more prevalent in today's society?
The studies haven't officially linked the computer use to myopia yet.
Okay.
It's coming. It's coming very soon, but I don't have an official, thing I can say has been printed yet. they're putting the end stages together. It's going to, the link's going to be there.
Gotcha. Yes.
With virtual school, the number of kids becoming myopic is definitely increased.
Yeah, I would
Quite a
agree.
bit. And so when we talk about myopia, I want you to think about myopia as a condition, a medical condition, where the eyeball is too long, it's growing faster than it should. Nearsightedness is the blurry distance vision. That's the symptom of myopia. So what does the child do? They go into the optometrist, they get some glasses, and they can see great. But that's not stopping the myopia. That's just compensating for nearsightedness. So then we got to decide, well, what are we going to do to work on the myopia? Because if that keeps increasing, then the child's going to be coming back, and next year it'll be worse and worse and worse and worse, and up it goes. And the problem with that is because, you know, people would say, well, what's the big deal? You give them some glasses, there's worse things in the world, they wear it, they're fine. What they're missing is that as the myopia increases and the eye length increases, the chance for eye diseases goes up in adulthood. Myopic macular degeneration, glaucoma, retinal detachments, all these increase pretty exponentially as the amount of myopia increases. So if we can slow down the length of the eye, treating the myopia, we can slow down the prescription increase, we can slow down the chances of diseases occurring in adulthood in the eyes. Okay, so at this point right now, as we talk, 30% of the kids in the US are myopic. And this is expected to increase to 50% by 2050. In fact, in 1972 to 2004, there's been a 66% increase in myopia. And so we can see this isn't just a little problem. In fact, if we take and we compare this to something we've heard a lot about, and that'd be like, say, obesity and diabetes, myopia is actually twice as big a problem as obesity. And that research came from a well-known Irish epidemiologist and ophthalmologist named Dr. Ian Flitcroft. And he's done a lot of work on this, and that was one of the conclusions, which was just astounding. So we would think about, well, what causes myopia? And the first thing we'd all think about is genetics, right? But the studies have shown actually 30% of it is genetic, 70% of it's actually environmental. In the genetic range, we can say, what are the risk factors there? Well, risk factors in general for myopia are, if you have Asian descent, you're more likely to be myopic and to go into high myopia. If you have one diopter change in a year, like you go from -2 to -3 or -3 to -4 in 1 year's time, you're more likely to go into high myopia. If you got your first prescription for myopia before age 10, you're more likely to go high. And if parents are myopic, then of course you're more likely to also. In fact, if you have no parents who are myopic, you still have a 10 to 20% chance of becoming myopic. If you have one parent, it's 25 to 35, two parents, 35 to 50. So it's a big problem. So the question is, what was done to figure this out? What causes the eye to grow at a normal length? And we all think it's the center of the vision. You put the glasses on, that's where the 20/20 vision is, right? That's not the part of the eye that controls normal eye growth. It's the periphery. Studies were actually done where they found if they took a monkey and removed the fovea, that's the center part of the eye where the vision comes in to create 20/20 vision. If they removed that, the eye still grew a normal length. If they took care and did something to the periphery, the eye grew longer than it should. So the peripheral part is what's controlling this, and the eye basically responds to what it sees. So if, let's say, this is the back of your eye and the light's coming in and it's not focusing back there, myopia, nearsightedness, people call it. So you give them a prescription and now you push it to the back of the eye and everything's nice and clear. What we're not correcting there, we're forgetting about is that there's these peripheral rays out here, and the eye is going to respond to what it sees, so it increases in length and moves toward those peripheral rays, and that's why the prescription keeps going up and the eye keeps getting longer. So what we're doing by a couple of different treatments, which I'll go into, is one type of treatment, we're taking these peripheral rays and we're moving them inside the eye, removing that signal outside there for the eye to get longer faster, thus slowing it down. There's another option we do where it's a drop where we take the white part of the eye and we make it a little tougher, a little stiffer, if you will, so it can't stretch back as quickly and easily. And that's been shown to slow it down too.
Can we go into some like things that you would say, hey, this is general good eye care maintenance, not just for children, that would be important, but let's go on the basics of that. Because I think a lot of folks, gosh, as a chiropractor, I get people stretching their neck a lot, range of motion and things like that. But oh my gosh, a lot of times we were locked and loaded on the screen for hours on end. And a lot of times we just don't look out the window or things like that. So Doc, can you go over some basics on preventive to start off with? And then let's go on to your treatment after that.
Great point with the computer and people not taking breaks. Two things I always tell people in general is number one, because everybody's doing more computer work nowadays, is the importance of the break. So I tell them, think about, some people call it the 20-20-20 rule. I just tell people, they're in my office, think 20-20 vision. Every 20 minutes while looking at that screen, you get off the screen and you look away into the distance for 20 seconds. They say 20 feet. It doesn't have to be 20 feet. You want to get beyond computer range. So I tell people the reason this keeps the muscles nice and loose is because I say, think if you're a weightlifter, you're not going to take a bar and do 100 curls in a row, right? Because you wouldn't be able to move your arm afterwards. Your muscle will be all knotted. But if you do sets of 10, the muscle stays nice and loose. That muscle works the same way. And so that's the first thing that's real important. The second thing I tell people is, if you turn off all the lights and you're looking at the screen, you can see it nice and clear, right? It's bright, it's coming right. Problem is that the light's coming out at you. And so what you want to do is you always want to have some kind of background light, a window, something to help neutralize that. Contrast that to when you're in a movie theater. You can sit in the dark because the movie's not coming out of the screen. It's being reflected off the screen. So it's a whole different situation. And that's why your mom always told you don't watch TV in the dark.
So when you're watching screens, just to reflect, make sure you have light on around, and that's easier on your eyes.
Correct.
Okay, nice.
I have people also use blue light filter glasses to help cut down from those rays that increase the eye strain. Another thing that the blue light does is an aside that you probably know, Dr. Todd, is that it decreases your melatonin. And that's why after you do this before going to bed, you get wired and you can't go to sleep.
Excellent. Mike, I think we've talked about that on other episodes about sleep, right? And melatonin.
Absolutely. Yep. And we know that right now there are so many links, and it's pretty fascinating because from one interview to the next, from one provider to the next, I can see so many connections, and I'm already thinking who Dr. Klasman can connect with that, together they can help more people. So yes, definitely there is a link between the melatonin production and blue light. And also we had another interview you haven't seen, Dr. Todd, yet, specifically about that and about light therapy. So I'll be releasing that pretty soon. So Dr. Klasman, I'm actually super fascinated to learn that we can treat eye, like some people some people say that eye is part of your brain, and then it is part of your brain by definition, and then it is part of the same organ. Now, what is new to me, and I think to a lot of people watching, is that eye is also treated as a muscle. Like you mentioned, that muscle needs to rest from time to time, and by changing what you're doing with that muscle, you are allowing that muscle to rest, and therefore you're not exhausting the eye. So that's pretty interesting. What I wanted to ask you is, when it comes to myopia treatment, what mistakes people make even before they go and see a provider? Let's say somebody sees that they don't see as well. What are the main mistakes that you see people making? Is it not seeing a provider too early or early enough, or is it something that they should be doing that they're not doing?
I tell people they should come in and see someone, even if they're not having a blurry vision at all, because we're still looking at it as your annual eye physical. When you go to your doctor, they do your physical, they take a quick peek in the eye, but we're doing a lot more, obviously. And so even if someone's coming in just to check the health of the eyes, that's great. Specifically for myopia, I tell people one thing that kids need to do that they're not doing enough of is they got to get outside 2 hours a day. Doesn't have to be all at once. And we're starting to figure out why this is not prevents, but decreases chances of people becoming myopic. Part of it is that there's a particular wavelength of the light that the eye reacts to, and it lights and it slows it down. Another thing that we know about is that if I'm in a room, I'm staring at a wall, I can't look through the wall. But if I'm outside, I can look at my hand, I can look across the field, all different distances. Eyes like that a lot more than that one fixed location. As far as my opinion, they should be going to see the eye doctor early, like real early, just to get the basic health down, basic eye alignment, because there's things that a 6-month-old, if their eyes aren't aligned properly, and I know it's getting off topic because it doesn't really have to do with myopia, but it can lead to things like amblyopia, lazy eye, and things like that. So at the minimum, I would at least have them come in before starting kindergarten, so they get off to that good start before going to school. Now, what we find is that when I like to coordinate things, say from like kindergarten to grade 3, you're more in that what I like to call learning to read stage, whereas in grade 4 and on is the reading to learn stage. So sometimes they'll be able to get by until that 3rd grade, and then 4th grade they hit the wall because the skills haven't been developed fully in the eyes there. Once again, getting off topic because that does not do with myopia, but I wanted to answer your question in general about when people should be going to see and get an eye exam. For myopia, the earlier we can catch them, the better. In fact, some of the new studies are showing that hyperopia, farsightedness, kids should be farsighted when they're real young. In fact, at age 7, they should still be slightly farsighted. If there's low farsightedness or low hyperopia, that's a signal that they're going to be crossing over probably pretty soon into myopia. And so the studies are now showing that we should probably start looking at treating these kids too, and not just waiting for them to become myopic. So what can we do for this? Well, some mistakes that have been made in the past is, let's say little Johnny comes in and he needs a -150. And so they would say, you know what, we'll give him a -1. You know, I don't want to give him the whole thing. He'll get used to it. It'll make his eyes worse. Completely wrong. We now know that undercorrecting actually promotes the eye getting worse quicker. So the worst thing someone can do is undercorrect. And that's just changed in the last, that thinking the last 5-10 years. I mean, that when I came out of school, that was not the thinking, but now it's changing. So what do we do to treat this? Well, to treat the nearsightedness, I'll have people, get the glasses at first and things like that, because I got to have them seeing in school. But then I bring them back and I say, what are we now going to do to treat the myopia? So right now we have 3 ways to do this. There's 2 optical ways. There's 1 pharmaceutical way. The 2 optical ways are specially designed soft multifocal contacts and specially designed orthokeratology type lenses. Orthokeratology lenses are a hard retainer type lens. The child sleeps in it. And what happens is, as they sleep, it flattens the center a little bit. It moves the center tissue kind of peripherally, giving that peripheral defocus that we were talking about to get that image to move inside the eye, and slows down the myopia. As a good side effect, what the kids like is that it corrects their vision. So when they wake up after using it for a few days, they don't need to wear glasses during the day. Their vision's 20/20. And then they use that as a retainer to keep things along there. Once again, that it's a nice side effect. The main thing I'm doing it for, though, is to slow down that growth by taking those peripheral rays and moving them out. The second way, which is a soft multifocal contact, also works by a similar method, except you wear that lens, a soft lens, you wear it during the day, you take it out at night, just like you would if you're wearing normal contacts, and then you repeat that process every day. The studies have shown that you can get up to a 70% reduction from the soft multifocal contacts and up to an 80% reduction from the orthokeratology lenses, which, when you think about it, as an example, when you think about that, if someone's a -1, they're going to get to a -9. They got 8 diopters that they're still going to change over their lifetime there. If you reduce that 70%, instead of being a -9, you've stopped them at a -350. That's quite a difference. And that's just with 70%. Now, with the pharmaceutical option, that is a diluted atropine drop that has to be compounded. Atropine, full strength, I put that in your eye, you're dilated for a week. You can't read, your eyes, pupils humongous. This, when I say diluted, I start them at a 0.025% concentration. So 99.99% base, no medicine, just 0.025. I have them use it for Sunday through Thursday, take the weekend off. That's been shown to give up to an 85% reduction. Very little side effects. If we go higher, we can go up to a 0.05 if we need to. Above that, that's when they start having the problems of reading and can't function in school. But the kids I'm treating right now, no problem. None of the kids have light sensitivity. They'll all be able to see the board. They can read their book, no problem, because it's just too small a concentration to affect that. But it stiffens that sclera up, the white part, so it can't stretch as easily and move as quickly and get as big. When do we stop? Is usually a question I get from a lot of parents. I'm at least going to go to age 16. Age 16, that's usually when things might start slowing down. Nowadays, it's kind of increasing going into college time. In fact, I'm treating a 23-year-old. I told her straight that the studies are only going kids. They haven't gone into adults. They're gradually being formed. So I don't think we have anything to lose. And 1 year out, she hasn't changed. She's changed every year up to now, and we've stopped her. So it's awesome. Anyway, so with the drops there and the lenses, I'll make them go to age 16. At age 16, if they're stable, then I'll consider stopping. Seeing them yearly. If they start up again, I'm going to start them up again. But the way we measure this, and this is something we do a little differently, is that we know that the length of the eye, the axial length, is going to increase before that vision prescription goes up. So we measure axial length every time they come in. I'm seeing for follow-ups, and I'm tracking that axial length over time to see what's going on, so I can see when a change is going to come before it happens. And if I need to, I can do combo therapies, adding drops and contacts if I need to.
Doctor, it was great to see one of the testimonials of a young man, and he believed, I think he was like about 10, and he was just going, yeah, I wear the glasses at night, I wear the prescription at night, and in the morning my eyes are fixed and I can go about the day without my eyewear. So I can do sports, I can go to school. And let's talk about, so we got an idea of the treatment. What does that do for by getting eye corrected? Let's talk about the other great side effects that correcting vision can have. Self-esteem, learning, ability to adapt to different circumstances, because you don't have to deal with glasses during the day. I mean, if you do, yes, that can happen, and that's fine. But let's talk about the fact that this one child you were interviewing, he was so ecstatic that he's like, yeah, my eyes are fixed in the morning. That's amazing to hear. Maybe some people were like, placebo, no problem. But I remember when I'm starting to deal with just my readers now, and I'm like, where are they? Where are they? I would love to be able to wear something at night, and then in the morning go, I don't need glasses for the day. I don't need to put contacts in. Talk about how that can change a child's life for us, Doc.
Oh, bad news for you, Todd, is that corrects your distance, not the reading. Though there are manipulations that can be done to help with reading a little bit. So if I was doing it on you, it's strictly for vision purposes, and I would design it differently. Yeah. For kids, orthokeratology is the one you're talking about. Okay, yeah. That's the hard line sleep at night, because the soft multifocals and the drops, you're still going to be wearing either contacts or the glasses during the day. But with this option, yeah, this child that you're referring to, his mom is a very high myope. Dad's myopic also, not as high as mom there, and he changed quickly before I saw him when he was referred to me, and we were able to stop it in its tracks, thank goodness. He's moved to California since then, and one of my colleagues is following him out there, but I know that another year's gone by and he still hasn't changed. Yeah, he loved the idea of getting rid of those glasses and everything. I said to him, this is gonna be a nice side effect, because you're not gonna need them after this. And the effect lasts all day. Maybe if he sleeps in, you guys sleep in it for at least 6-7 hours in the evening to get the full effect, takes him out, and the effect's gonna last pretty much into the early evening, and then it might fade a little bit, not back to where he was, but he can fade a little bit, but it takes him through to bedtime. The neat thing about this is, you've heard of LASIK, I'm sure, where you get through the laser to correct your vision. Kids are too young for that anyway. That's more for adults. But let's say with the LASIK, once it's done, right? You can't change it. With this, if you decide after a while, I don't want to do this anymore, you stop using the lenses for about a week, your prescription goes back to where it was. So it's completely reversible. So that's a nice little thing, because that way, if we want to change options or they get tired of it, they want to switch over to something else, it's not like you're stuck. We can switch.
I wanted to ask you, Dr. Klasman, also because it interests me, what is the difference? I have no idea about the standard of care when it comes to myopia in children. So what is the difference between a typical office and then what you do in your office and your approach? Because I understand that there are different types of treatments available. What I'm really curious to know is, what are the standard treatments that you can expect, let's call it in a typical office, and then where exactly is the line where your treatment becomes more unique?
Typical standard treatment that's been around for years, though, is you'll get single vision glasses or single vision contacts, which does a great job of correcting the nearsightedness, does nothing for the myopia. So when I see someone who has a change in the prescription, they're myopic, that's when this shift in discussion occurs. And we go from saying, we're treating the nearsightedness, let's come back and talk about how we can treat the myopia. And I'm thinking out in the future there. It's good when I see these kids young, because this is the time. This is the time to slow this down now before it goes up into the 4 to 5 to 6 and on up into the high prescriptions.
And that is awesome to treat like you mentioned, this is treating pretty much the cause of the problem instead of just treating the symptom, which is the nearsightedness. And I love it because I watched quite a few videos, even some TED Talks before, to prepare to understand the topic. And many of them just make this the same. It's myopia, short-sightedness, or nearsightedness. And in your case, you put a line between them. It's like one is the symptom, the other one is the reason for the symptom, and being able to treat the reason, the cause, is obviously so much better. I wanted to ask you about other providers and your favorite type of collaborations, because we talk about integrative medicine, integrative healthcare, and then how providers can team up. So I would assume that for you, the very good collaborating partner would be a pediatrician who sees, some of the symptoms of myopia, and then maybe they may be in California, but they want to collaborate and ask about, specific types of options, or they may be in Maryland and refer to you directly. So what would you say to pediatricians watching us right now, how they can connect with you, and also any other providers that you would like us to connect you with?
Yeah, pediatricians, absolutely. The best thing that they can do is that because when the child comes in for the regular exams they're going to have them read that chart on the wall. And if they start noticing that vision is blurry and they can't see that chart, that's a red flag right there. Now, it might be astigmatism, it might be hyperopia. You won't know until you actually do a full eye exam. At that full eye exam, if it starts showing that there is myopia, and once again, I'm measuring that axial length on every kid that comes in so I can see where they are, because I have a chart in my office where it shows what the normal length should be at every age from 6 through 18. And if it's deviating from that bigger than it should be, I know that we're moving down a road that we don't want to go down. And then I know it's time for us to take action. So the first step is have them read that chart in that office. For a pediatrician, because I know, they're doing everything. They're holistic as far as looking at the whole body. Look at that eye, look at that chart. If they're having problems, it's time to send them out to get that full eye exam and take it from there. And one thing I'm doing a little different is not every doctor is measuring that axial length. And it's so important. The more and more studies are coming out showing that the axial length is the key to noticing what the eye is doing before these prescription changes happen. So yeah, if they want to connect with me, they're free to email me whenever they want. Dr. Klasman, DrKlasman at federalhilleyecare.com, all one word. My website, www.federalhilleyecare.com. If you scroll down toward the bottom of that site, I have a whole section on myopia management where it goes even to more detail.
Other providers that I think would be good too for you, Dr. Klasman, and you'd be like, oh yeah, I see these folks a lot, would be school counselors, where maybe somebody's starting to like not withdraw from class because they can't, they're not engaging with the content as well. That might be another great resource. Just go, hey, let's check your eyes just to make sure. Have you noticed that, Dr. Klasman? That's another great resource for you too, is the school counselors.
Definitely. And school nurses.
It's school nurses, definitely. Also, maybe, gosh, the child psychologist, folks that are even, gosh, even tutors could be a great resource. Of, hey, let's make sure, you know, like the child is going, hey, I'm just not absorbing this content in class as well. Well, let's check that out. So that might be some other ways of going, let's make sure this content is going in the first place. So I just say, if somebody's having a hard time absorbing content in school or any other venue, hey, let's end that. There is an ocular, you know, there's vision involved with that. Let's get that checked out. Because otherwise some of these subtle things might be missed during the exam, and why wait a year for the yearly pediatrician visit? So I think it's a great time for those other people, child psychologists, school nurses, and tutors and teachers, to think about recommending that, and then maybe gearing the child and the family through the pediatrician and then to the optometrist, or then also just to say, hey, check with your optometrist.
Or if they see the child squinting, rubbing their eyes, these are all signs, putting like drifting off into space, right? Because they can't see it, so they're just kind of like giving up. All these are other signs that the child might be having trouble seeing the board, and might be heading in that direction.
Excellent. Thank you, doctor.
I'm also thinking about possibly sports coaches, because now if somebody's playing football and then, you know, they just can't see the ball, or, you know, there's a problem that affects your child so much because maybe they're able to play that sport, they love it, and they can't do it. So I'm always thinking about the impact, right? So what is the impact of that kind of treatment? Is not only the child sees better and then we can say that the measurement looks better on the chart. We are talking about real life situation that right now they can go back, be happy, be, you know, feeling like they're accomplishing what they want to accomplish. And what does that do to your self-esteem for your adult life if you're, you know, so good as a child playing sport that you love to play? So I'm thinking about some people I want to connect you with, Dr. Klasman, as well. And this is always exciting for me to see that different providers either developed a different method or apply a different method that is unique to treating something that maybe the standard of care is either not enough or not as effective. And now you're using the standard of care, obviously, but now you're adding, you know, that unique component, or the measurement every visit that you mentioned, or maybe slightly different approach when it comes to treating that. And treating children is so important because we all were children at some point, right? We still feel like children inside, and then we are adults. But, you know, being able to prevent problems in our adulthood when we treat children is pretty remarkable. So you must be feeling awesome.
Yeah, it's exciting, especially when you see these kids come back and it's like a year out and they've been changing like big chunks every year, and then you slowed it down over that year. I mean, it's just like, yeah, you know, I feel great for them, but I mean, I get excited.
This is super good. So if somebody is watching and they're in Baltimore area, DC metropolitan area, definitely connect with Dr. Klasman if you're a provider, or if you are a parent and then you would like to make sure that your child has somebody with this approach. That would be a very good idea to connect. Dr. Klasman, anything else you would like to add for our audience before we go today?
No, just keep track of the kids, watch them, you know, make sure they're doing okay. You want them to achieve well in school. You want the self-esteem to be good. And I was thinking about something you just brought up, Mike, where if someone has these real thick glasses, right? And let's say they're an athlete, you know, they can wear contacts, but, you know, if they forgot their glasses, a contact falls out of their eye, they're in trouble, right? Because their prescription's so high. If you keep that down, not only are you helping them as far as preventing getting or decreasing, I say, chances of getting diseases in the future, they're functioning better. They can still get by. And so if the function goes better, then the self-esteem goes up. And like you said, everything improves. It's not, I always like to tell people, it's not here's your eyes and here's your body. We're all one big unit. And so they're all parts of the same machine and all. So they all work together. And if you have one part out of sync, the other parts go out of sync. So everything needs to be coordinated and working together.
Amen. Really, this is awesome, and I thank you, Dr. Todd, for co-hosting today. This is super cool to see you back. I thank you, Dr. Klasman, for seeing you today, for sharing tips, sharing your knowledge. It's very important, and for all of you watching, I want to thank you for giving us your attention. Please connect with the providers in our group. Join our group if you're interested in solutions and amazing people like providers like Dr. Klasman and Dr. Todd, because it's all about collaboration. There is no one single person that can solve all problems, but if we start working together, we have a much better chance of solving some complex problems, actually much more effectively, so we have time to enjoy our lives. So subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching on YouTube, follow us on social media, and follow us and subscribe because of our amazing guests. So once again, thank you and have a great day, everyone.